Okay, hello and welcome to the first of my Road to Nowhere tutorials. Excuse me. This isn't perfect, but neither is the world we're living in at the minute. So bear with me and let's just see what we can do. So basically, going to create a canvas that's 800 by 800 pixels by 72 resolution. That's all good. I'm going to call the preset emoji. So I could save that as a preset so I could use it again if I'd like. Go ahead and click on create and I get my blank canvas up. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and click on my layers tab so that shows up. Might need to just drag it up a little bit, but we want to see our layers. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a brush. I'm just going to choose, and I'm going to make sure that my size, pressure for size is on because I'm using a tablet. If you're using a mouse, you won't have these options. Always use a tablet if you can. Just going to go into general brushes. I'm going to choose a basic hard round brush of around 20 pixels, but you can make your mind up what you want. Down here I'm going to make sure that my colours are set to default of black and white, and this is how I can click on that arrow there and I can change around from white to black and black to white. I can also press X on the keyboard and that will swap them around as well. So I'm now going to go ahead and draw a rough kind of skull shape. And put in a few little facial details. And if I find I want to redo anything, I want to kind of have a bit more white where the black eyes are, I can just swap over to white on my brush and I can just go over it, get a bit more white in there. Now actually I've made a little bit of a mistake here in that the skull shape's too big, because we need to have some space around it for the kind of expression lines, let's call them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a free transform, which I can either do by going edit free transform, or I can also press Ctrl T and that will give me the ability to free transform. But I do have to make sure, because it's a background layer, it'll be locked, so I click on the little lock to unlock it first, Then it will allow me to go edit, retransform. You can see I get a bounding box up now, and I can basically resize. If I hold down Shift, it will constrain the proportions. So I can shrink it down to a smaller size, click and drag and move it back to the center. And you notice that I've run out of white now in my background. That's not a problem. Sort that out. I must remember to click the little tick up on the toolbar or press enter once I've decided if my resize is right. Then, to fix the white background, I can choose the paint bucket tool. You might have to find the gradient tool first and then go in and get the paint bucket. Make sure that my background color is on white and then click, and I can fill in the white again. So that's our first layer done. So we'll make sure we save now, as we've got something that we wouldn't want to lose. You'll get the option to save to cloud or save to your computer. I'm just going to save this to my computer. So now I need to go ahead and create another layer. Oh, by the way, the maximize compatibility, it's good to save that ticked because that means you can open a document in earlier versions of Photoshop. So click on the new layer, create a new layer. I'm going to turn the visibility off of my underneath layer, so it's still there but hidden, and we can see that we've got nothing, not even a background here. So first thing I'm going to want to do is get the paint bucket tool and give myself a white background. I'm then going to swap the swatches back, my foreground background color, switch it so that it's onto black, ready for drawing my skull. And what I'm also going to do to give me a guide of where my first layer is, it's kind of like the equivalent of onion skinning. I'm going to turn the visibility down of the layer that I've just created so that I can start to see the layer that's underneath, and that will give me a bit of a guide. Okay, so go ahead now and fill in background color of my new layer with white with a paint bucket tool. Now I'm just going to drop the opacity of my top layer whilst having the visibility back on underneath of my bottom layer. And as I reduce the opacity of my top layer, this bottom layer starts to show through. Which doesn't mean that when I draw, I'll be drawing with less opacity. It's just for viewing purposes. So I'm going to drop this opacity down for a minute, and then I'm going to go ahead select my brush,